What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing arguably the most toxic team for the Retro Cup and an incredibly effective team with Shadow Giraffe Rig, Espeon and Bruxish all running Confusion plus Psychic Fangs. Now the reason this sort of team can be so effective in this meta is because Psychic type moves are only resisted by other Psychic type Pokemon, so against anything else you can just go straight Psychic Fangs and fast move farm down your opponents with Confusion. You will see plenty of battles up against other Psychic types, including other trainers using an almost identical team, but with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Aside from Dragon and Psychic type Pokemon, what do you think is the most effective typing in the Retro Cup meta? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, and I will mention that the first 4 or 5 battles were done on my old phone before my repaired phone came back, so unfortunately these first few battles are going to be very stuttery like this, but it doesn't really matter. We can come in with the Bruxish here, and the opponent does have quite a lot of energy. Body Slam going to do big damage here, but it doesn't force a shield. But what does force a shield is a second Body Slam coming through. We're going to shield that up, go for the Confusion farm down, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come back in with the Dragalge, so if they're coming in with Dragalge, they must be incredibly weak to the Psychic typing in the back. So we get a shield with the Psychic Fangs, they do get the Dragon Tail farm down, but we can now come in with the Espeon, and at this point I'm actually going to shield my Espeon. I don't know what's in the back, but I know that a loaded Espeon will be able to debuff whatever they've got in the back, and it's a Shadow Poliwrath, so this is looking incredibly good for us. We go straight for the Psychic Fangs, debuffing their defense, and look at that Confusion damage. We make it to Psychic Fangs number 2, and this will easily take out the Shadow Poliwrath, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see Shadow Giraffe Rig into another Shadow Giraffe Rig. But the opponent here is running Double Kick, which I think typically is better, but in this meta I think Confusion is definitely the way to go. They go for the Psychic Fangs there. They didn't even build up to a Trailblaze or a Thunderbolt, so I happily let that go through. I build up to the Thunderbolt, baiting, and then I make it to another Psychic Fangs here, and from this range with the debuff, this might take them out, so the opponent double shields their Giraffe Rig. They then swap straight away into an Arctobax. I'm going to go for the Psychic Fangs here, and I think it's probably going to be like a second Dragon type in the back. So at this point I'm going to shield this up. I should be able to get the Confusion farm down. From this range, barely, I come out with another Psychic Fangs loaded, and it is another Dragon, and once again it is Dragalge, so very fortunate for me. That does big damage. They are also running a shiny Dragalge, which is really nice. I've actually never seen this in battle, so that is quite a nice shiny. But anyways, we get the Confusion farm down. I go for the Psychic Fangs here. I'm thinking they are very low. It actually doesn't quite take them out there, but it doesn't matter. Unless they've got back-to-back moves, we can safely shield up the Psychic Fangs, go for the Confusion farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see Shadow Giraffe Rig into another mirror match, and this time the opponent is running Confusion, so the opponent going to go for that Psychic Fangs once again straight away, so I will let this go through, although you see I actually won't make it to 2 charge moves here if I let that go through. So we go for our own Psychic Fangs, debuffing their defense, but because they threw first, they would have been able to get the farm down there, so I swap into my Espeon, I get the snipe, and the opponent comes in with a Talonflame. We do have quite a lot of lag there on screen, but it didn't matter. We get a shield with the Psychic Fangs, and at this point I am probably going to let Espeon go down. No, actually, I use my shield here, quite questionable, but now we can go for a Psychic Fangs number 2. This should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Confusion does big damage there, and at this point I'm going to come in with my Shadow Giraffe Rig. The opponent swaps into Chestnut. They're able to get the Vine Whip farm down, but I can just come in with my Bruxish here, and I think I might be able to go for a full Confusion farm down. They go for the Frenzy Plant. Can we get the farm down? Yes, we're able to do so, and I'm going to go for Crunch since it does do slightly more damage, but Crunch or Psychic Fangs either would have taken out the Talonflame from this range, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see Dunsparce in the lead, so this is a bit of a iffy matchup. We are going to go for the extra Confusion, and the opponent throws straight away, so that's absolutely fine with me. They go for the Drill Run, or we can now go for the back-to-back Psychic Fangs. One will not take them out, so I will have to throw back-to-back if I want to get rid of them, but actually they use their shield, so I swap into my Espeon. I'm now going to use my shield. I don't know what they've got in the back. If they've got like multiple dragons, then it's no good if most of my Pokemon are already very low health. And here we're going straight for the Shadow Ball. This would definitely one-shot them, so the opponent uses their shield, and at this point a Surf probably takes us out, so I'm going to let this go through, and Surf does take out the Espeon. They've got no shields remaining, and I'm going to come in with my Bruxish. I will have to force the opponent to try and throw a Shadow Ball rather than a Surf, since Surf is resisted. They go for the Shadow Ball, and now we're going to bank a Psychic Fangs, swap into my Shadow Giraffe Rig, go for a Psychic Fangs on the Giraffe Rig, taking out the Jellicent, and the opponent has a Frost Sash in the back. We make it to the Psychic Fangs in time. This will debuff their defense, and this should put them into range where we can take them out with the Psychic Fangs, but I don't know what happened there. I think I tried to go for it immediately. It didn't register, and then we go for the extra confusion, and then we don't get off the charge move either. Not really sure what happened there, but GG's to the opponent. Now into the next game, and we do, this should be on my new phone now, so it should look a lot smoother. And once again, we go for the extra confusion. Not sure why opponents are throwing straight away up against confusion users, but I swap into my Espeon, I get the snipe, and I come in with an Arctopack. So potentially a triple Dragon team up against a triple Psychic team here. We go for that Psychic Fangs, and the opponent will be able to get a massive farm down. But I should be winning CMP with my Shadow Giraffe Rig, so we come in with the Giraffe Rig, we go for the Psychic Fangs straight away, and Psychic Fangs will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. So at this point, gonna let the Giraffe Rig go down. I should be able to Confusion, farm them down before they make it to another charge move, since they went for the Icy Wind, and they've got a Toxapex in the back, so this is going to be a very comfortable matchup. We go straight for the Psychic Fangs. The first one actually doesn't do too much damage, but these Confusions are seriously chunking, and a second Psychic Fangs will easily be enough to take out the Toxapex, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Cresselia in the lead. Now this is a bit tricky, but I will just stay in with my Shadow Giraffe Rig initially. The opponent throws on alignment again. I'm not sure if they're all just expecting me to throw straight away, but you definitely do not want to throw on alignment up against confusion users. But here I swap into my Espeon. I'm going to bank the energy from my Giraffe Rig, since Thunderbolt wouldn't threaten to KO the Cresselia, and here I'm able to make it to 2 Psychic Fangs before the opponent can make it to a charge move on their Talonflame, and at this point I can just safely let this go through. I know Cresselia has very little fast move pressure against my team, so I don't have to worry too much about, you know, getting fast move farm down. And here we come in with the Bruxish, we get off 2 confusions, take them out, and they come in with a Surfetch. So I'm just going to throw just before they make it to a potential Leaf Blade or a Night Slash. The opponent sacrifices the Surfetch. They realize that Cresselia is the win condition, but I just don't think they're going to make it to enough charge moves to take us out. We're going straight for the crunch. The lose condition here is if I go for a Psychic Fangs bait, and the opponent recognizing that's their win condition if I baited, so they let the move go through. Grass Knot takes out the Bruxish, and now we can just Confusion, farm them down with my Giraffe Rig. The opponent throws at the last second. Bit unnecessary, as Confusion will be taking out the Cresselia, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Mantine in the lead. So I'm going to stay in this lead matchup. We are running Thunderbolt. Typically, you should be running Trailblaze, so the opponent might actually no shield. I'm going to let the first move go through, since they did just go for an Aerial Ace. Doesn't do too much damage, and is the opponent going to respect the damage here? They actually do respect the damage, and now I was worried they would be able to just farm me down, so I swap into my Espeon. Gonna shield the first one here. They will be able to make it 2 back-to-back charge moves. Before I can take them out, I probably could have just gone for the Psychic Fangs there, but I'm not 100% sure if it does KO. And now the opponent comes in with a very spicy Crocalaw. We're going for the Psychic Fangs here. I'm hoping I make it to 2, but I'm not able to do so. And there, I should have definitely just gone for the Shadow Ball, although Shadow Ball would not be super effective, as this is not sub Ghost type. And now we come in with the Bruxish. We can shield once. I will now be able to go for the Confusion farm down, come out with quite a lot of energy. The opponent has Frost Sash in the back. Now here I'm thinking, once again, my lose condition is baiting, so I go for the crunch, but the opponent shields once again. And in this matchup, we swap, and I thought I could not tap there, but somehow the Confusion still goes through, and we take out the Mantine. What I wanted to do is stop attacking there, Confusion them down with my Bruxish, and then come out with a crunch loaded, but I think I just slightly over tapped, and the opponent played that brilliantly, so GG's to that opponent there. But if I just went straight Psychic Fangs in all of those matchups, I probably would have been able to win, since the opponent did shield up the correct moves with the Thunderbolt and the Crunch. But into the next game, we're going to see us go for a Psychic Fangs into the Dragonair. The opponent actually lives that, so they swap out into their Aurorus. We're going to go for a Psychic Fangs once again. I probably should just stay in with my Giraffe Rig there, force the opponent to throw, but no, we're going to come in with the Bruxish. We correctly shield the Meteor Beam, and now we can go for the full Confusion farm down. We are down 2 shields shields, but this Psychic Fang and Confusion damage is going to be so oppressive. So we go for the back-to-back Psychic Fangs here. We will pause for like a split second just to make sure they don't make that catch there, and the opponent does not swap out. So we go for Psychic Fangs number 2. They then swap. That was very strange. I guess just clearing their debuff. They're now going to go for a charge move here, but this will just be a muddy water. It is resisted. We bank a Psychic Fangs just in case we need it, but it doesn't matter. We make it to yet another Psychic Fangs on my Espeon. Espeon takes out the Gudra, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Giraffe Rig into Salazzle. So an amazing lead and just amazing for my entire team. But what's not amazing for my team is a Shadow Hypno. Shiny Shadow as well, so very nice. We're going to go for a Psychic Fangs here. Obviously, I know that's resisted, but I know the opponent is going to no-shield it. Now here, I should be able to live an Elemental Punch. And I definitely live a Shadow Ball, although not nearly as comfortably as I thought I would. But it doesn't matter. We make it to Psychic Fangs number 2. We don't need Switch Advantage because I don't expect the opponent to come in with their Salazzle. So I should be able to line my Bruxish up against the Salazzle, which would be a very good matchup. Now, the opponent comes in with an Oranguru. This is very bad because they do resist everything we can throw, as of course Shadow Ball will also be resisted due to the part normal typing, but it doesn't matter because once again we can just go straight for the Psychic Fangs, and Psychic Fangs is going to grab a shield from the opponent. They're going to go for a full Confusion Farm down. They're not able to do so, and I'm able to swap out before the opponent's Incinerate damage registers, so that means I bank the Psychic Fangs there. Poison Fang does so much more damage than I was expecting, but once again, it doesn't matter. We can go for the Psychic Fangs, grab the final shield from the opponent, and we have easily put them into range where another Psychic Fangs from my Espeon will be enough damage to take out the Oranguru, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we're going to see Shadow Giraffe Rig into Lickitung. So this is a good matchup for us, but we do have to be a little bit careful here because Body Slam still does a ton of damage. Once again, I go for the extra Confusion. This time the opponent does overfarm correctly and throw just before the next Confusion damage registers, which is much better than throwing on Alignment. Now the opponent swaps into Mantine. I'm going to bank some energy. I probably should have just thrown my Psychic Fangs there because that makes this matchup a lot more easy, but now we're going to go for the Psychic Fangs. This will be debuffing their defense. I don't expect to grab a shield, and we will not grab that shield there. And now here, I'm not sure if I can make it to the full Confusion Farm down before they get to the next charge move, and we are not able to do so. And that is really bad because we both lose Switch Advantage, but we also lose a ton of energy on the Bruxish because I just can't afford to double shield there. We have double shielded in the past, so maybe we should have just committed there, but then the Lickitung could just come in and fully lick farm us down. So either way, not in a great position. I'm going to shield this charge move. I should be able to Confusion, farm them all the way down, but the opponent has a Frost Sash in the back. So we're going for the Psychic Fangs, throwing on the CMP tie with the opponent. This should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Now what I need is for a Psychic Fangs from my Shadow Giraffe Rig to KO because I don't have much health remaining, but we do at least resist the lick damage, but it's not nearly enough damage to take them out. And now we're so low that they can just easily lick farm us down, and I do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there. And into the next game, another Shadow Giraffe Rig in the lead, and this time I think we will just go straight for the Psychic Fangs, but no, we're actually going to let the move go through, then we will go for the Psychic Fangs, I assume. Yep, we're going to go for it here. This might grab a shield from the opponent. It does grab the shield, and we can see we're not going to make it to another Psychic Fangs, so I do swap into my Espeon, and the opponent overfarms. They don't get to the next charge move. Big mistake from the opponent there, as they could have easily just gone for another Psychic Fangs, and the reason they didn't swap out is because they've got a Hypno. We're going for a very risky bait, and the opponent calls the bait there, which is so unfortunate. At this point, I'm expecting it to be another Shadow Confusion, or not maybe Shadow, but another Confusion user in the back. So we're going for that Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will grab the final shield from the opponent. And now we're going to wait out the switch clock, come in with the Bruxish, and the opponent has their own Bruxish, so almost an identical matchup there. Just they had the Shadow Hypno instead of the Espeon. We're going to let that move go through. Obviously, that is resisted, so it makes sense to let it go through. We go for the crunch, one shot in the Bruxish, and can we get to another crunch in time? It looks like we will, and even if we didn't, I would have just swapped and cleared the debuff, so I would have been able to live one more Confusion. But we take out the Hypno with the crunch, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see a great lead leading into Poliwrath. The opponent swaps into Shadow Dragonair. Now we don't need switch advantage because we do have two Pokemon that are very good up against the Poliwrath in the back. So the opponent lets that growth go through. That actually doesn't quite take them out. Body Slam does take us out. But now this is fine. I don't expect the Poliwrath to come back in. So let's see what the third Pokemon is. It is an Aurorus, and we can make it to the Psychic Fangs before they make it to a Weather Ball. And at this point, I'm just going to save both my shields for my Bruxish in the back. The opponent does overfarm in this matchup. Doesn't matter. I'm going to let the Espeon go down to the Weather Ball. And this is game over for the opponent. Their only win condition is if I no shield a Meteor Beam. So the opponent plays to the win condition, but I do shield, and the opponent just concedes the match there. So GG's to that opponent there, not a lot they could have done. And into the next game we see Lantern in the lead. So this is a pretty neutral lead matchup. We basically just want to avoid having our Bruxish aligned to the Lantern because obviously we do take super effective damage from the Sparks, but otherwise pretty neutral. I'm going to shield the first move. They did farm to a Thunderbolt. It is just a Surf bait though, so that's fine with me. We tried to go for the Psychic Fangs. I end up over tapping and we barely get it off. That was very close, but here we do go down to the Dragon Breath damage. That's fine with us. We're going to come in with the Bruxish, and since I know it has a very bad matchup up against the Lantern, I'm actually going to let this move go through, as the Body Slam does huge damage there, nearly takes us out, but we can now come in with the Espeon. Potentially, I should have gone for the Confusion Farm down there and come out with a Psychic Fangs loaded instead of swapping out, but now the opponent has a Licky Tongue in the back, so it's not looking too good for us. I'm going to shield this up. I will be able to make it to another Psychic Fangs. I should overfarm, but the opponent recognizing the safe play is just to swap back into their Lantern. Psychic Fangs unfortunately will not be enough damage to take them out. They make it to a Surf. Surf will be taking out the Espeon from this range, and I could take them out with the Psychic Fangs, but I choose to let them Spark farm me down since it was game over for me anyways, and like that I do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to that opponent, and into the next game we see Shadow Girafarig absolutely core breaking the opponent as they come in with a Cofagrigus. We can go for the Psychic Fangs, and I can now just safely shield once, and I will be able to fully Confusion farm them down since they didn't shield the first Psychic Fangs. And we come out with a second Psychic Fangs loaded, so we're looking very good here as the opponent comes in with a Dugong. We farm up to the potential Thunderbolt or a Trailblaze, and we grab a shield from the opponent. We now make it to another Psychic Fangs. This might even grab another shield from the opponent. It does exactly that since they do not want to align their Hakamo to my Girafarig, but it doesn't matter. We've got three Pokemon running Confusion. There is nowhere for this Hakamo to run, and we're actually going to swap out of this matchup, catch the move onto my Espeon just for the sake of it as the opponent goes for the Dragon Claw, dealing pretty big damage actually. We do get the Confusion farm down. I will make it to a Psychic Fangs, and I will be able to take out the opponent with a Psychic Fangs from my Bruxish here. So I made this a little bit longer than it needed to be, but we're able to go for that Psychic Fangs immediately, and this will be enough damage to take out the Dugong, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see Shadow Girafarig into Skeledirge. Now this is a bit of a tricky matchup here. I would prefer my Bruxish to be aligned just because we would then resist the Incinerate damage, but I go for a Psychic Fangs, grabbing a shield, and if the opponent goes for the full Incinerate farm down, we would make it to a charge move. So very smart. They do bank 100 energy and then swap into their Dugong. Now what I shouldn't have done there is swap out because now I'm switch locked. I'm going to shield this as well. Could have thrown the Psychic Fangs, but I wasn't 100% sure if it would take them out, and they actually go for an Icy Wind. And again, I make a mistake. I should have overfarmed by one more Confusion since the Ice Shards were not doing much damage, and now the opponent comes in with a Superior, and if I wasn't switch locked here, then I would have been fine. I can't even speak. I would have just swapped into my Espeon, but I have to let the Bruxish go down now, and I'm fully anticipating that as soon as the opponent throws their charge move, they're going to swap into the Skeledirge and go for the snipe. So I swap into my Girafarig. We're able to catch the move, but they've got 100 energy, and the opponent recognizing we're probably going to swap out there, so they go for the Disarming Voice because now they can go for the Shadow Ball, one-shotting the Espeon, and they do take that game. So very well played by the opponent. Into next game, another Shadow Giraffe rig in the lead. I actually haven't played the Retro Cup for a few days, so I don't know if someone made a video on Shadow Giraffe rig or if people have just remembered from the last time we had the Retro Cup that Shadow Giraffe rig is very strong. But here, we grab the shield this time with the Psychic Fangs. The opponent over farms, they go for the Psychic Fangs bait, and we swap at the same time as the opponent. They come in with Kingdra, and unfortunately it looks like the Dragon Breath damage is dealing slightly too much damage here for us to make it to back-to-back Psychic Fangs, and that is the case. They get the full Dragon Breath farm down, and that is not ideal for us. But we do have a 2 shield advantage. I just have to hope that the opponent doesn't go for an Octazooka and debuff us. And they full send an Outrage, so that's fine. We can now go for the full Confusion farm down. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They are going to come in with their Shadow Giraffe rig. They were 1 fast move away from the move, so I'm now going to go for the Confusion, go for the Psychic Fangs, take them out, and they've got a Cresselia in the back. Now here, I remembered I am also 1 Confusion away from the Psychic Fangs, so I'm going to go and debuff this Cresselia's defense, and this should allow a Crunch to basically KO from this range. It will be close. Crunch doesn't quite take them out there, and they make it to 2 charge moves, I think, but it doesn't matter because the Confusion damage will register, it will take out the Cresselia, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Dunsparce in the lead. So I'm going to stay in this lead matchup initially. And what I've only really just noticed after watching the battles back is that Dunsparce was often paired with a Lantern and a Jellicent in the back, which is actually quite difficult for my backline to deal with. But here, let's see how we play this out. We're going to go for the Psychic Fangs, go for a second one straight away. We would have won the CMP tie, so the opponent goes for the extra rollout anyways. They come in with the Lantern, we swap into our Espeon, and they've got Jellicent in the back there. So it is this lineup that I did see a few times with this team. I didn't actually notice it throughout the battles, so I didn't adjust how I played. But here I'm going to let the move go through. Surf actually still takes us out there. I thought I might be able to just barely live that, but I was wrong, and we now come in with the Shadow Giraffe rig. I have to shield this up, and I will be able to come out of this matchup with a Psychic Fangs loaded, so I'm going to throw it straight away. I kind of need the opponent to no shield here. If they no shield, we might have some play, and they do let that go through for whatever reason. I'm not sure what they're planning on shielding, but I think it's too little too late for the opponent, as we now go for a Psychic Fangs, debuffing their defense once again, and the opponent throws on alignment here, and this is just perfect for me, as now the Confusion damage registers, we take out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So poor charge move timing cost the opponent there, as they could have probably quite easily taken that game if they just timed their charge moves better, and also if they did shield that first Psychic Fangs. But you can see, if the opponent doesn't shield the first Psychic Fangs, it kind of puts them in a really bad position. Now into next game, we see a Quagsire in the lead. They go for the Mud Bomb there. I did shield because I think they had enough energy for a potential Stone Edge. Now here I'm going to overfarm, throw the Psychic Fangs on the CMP tie with the opponent as they make it to an X-Scissor, and we actually grab a shield from the opponent, so that's fine with me. At this point, Espeon can go down to the X-Scissor, and I'm going to come back in with my Shadow Giraffe rig. We already have 1 Confusion's worth of energy, so I will be able to CMP tie them, and because they're debuffed, I think this should take them out here. And it does take out the Charge Bug. They come back in with the Quagsire, and I'm going to just put my final shield into my Bruxish and hope that we can sweep. They full send the Stone Edge this time around. They come back in with the Abomasnow, and we're going straight for the Psychic Fangs here. If they let this go through, we can just fully Confusion, farm them down, so the opponent does use their shield, but it doesn't matter. Even if they bait here, we can just go for the Psychic Fangs once again, and from this range, this will be enough damage to take out the Abomasnow. So it just depends, can the Quagsire make it to another Stone Edge to take us out? No, they're not able to do so, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Giraffe rig into Cresselia. So the opponent is going to be running Confusion Cresselia, which is actually slightly worse for me, just because even though Confusions don't do too much damage, especially from Cresselia, they do obviously add up a lot more than the Psycho Cuts. So I'm going to let this move go through, but a Moonblast would do a ton of damage. It is just a Grass Knot. It still does huge damage though. We're now going to swap into our Espeon, and the opponent is going to go for the charge move. So I'm going to use my shield here. I didn't think Psychic Fangs would take them out, and unfortunately they've got Oranguru in the back. Now this is really bad. We've got so much loaded energy against basically anything else in the meta. We could threaten shields, but not against Oranguru, as they can resist everything we throw. They throw straight away though, so that's worth noting. And here I make a massive mistake. We're going to come in with the Bruxish, and I'm basically going to try and swap and catch the move as soon as they make it to the next foul play. But I mistimed it. I'm not sure why, but I thought they had 1 extra Confusion, so We massively screwed that up there because the opponent couldn't even throw their charge move, so there was no way they were going to make, or there was no way we were going to make that catch there. And if we did correctly make that catch, we could have been in a pretty good position, but now unfortunately we go for the Psychic Fangs, win the CMP tie, and we need them to, for whatever reason, let this move go through, but the opponent does correctly shield, they play it safe, and a Trailblaze will easily take out the Bruxish, and we do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there, very well played. Into next game we see a great lead as the opponent then swaps into their Cresselia. And once again, just going to stay in initially, tank the damage, and then I will come in with my Espeon since we can at least hit 4 super effective damage with a Shadow Ball. So I'm going to see the opponent go for a charge move straight away. We will respect the damage for the first one as the opponent goes for the Moonblast. They don't get an attack drop, which is really nice. We're now going to overfarm just slightly, go for a Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball will be grabbing a shield from the Cresselia. They make it to another charge move. I think I might be able to live this, but Moonblast one-shots the Espeon, and that is really unfortunate. But we're now going to come back in with the Shadow Giraffe rig, overfarming once again, throwing on what looks to be a CMP tie. Thunderbolt takes out the Cresselia. We come in with our Bruxish, and the opponent has a Shadow Abomasnow in the back. And once again, this is a really good matchup for us in the one shield scenario. We can safely shield this up, even if they bait with a Weather Ball. I will make it to the next Psychic Fangs on the CMP tie with the Shadow Abomasnow, and this will definitely take them out from this range. You can see they are already incredibly low. Psychic Fangs takes them out, and I will be able to make it to another Psychic Fangs up against a Poliwrath, but this Poliwrath is non-shadow, so they will actually just barely live that. They make it to a potential Icy Wind or a Scald. They go for the Scald there, and can we get the Confusion Farm down? Yes, we are able to do so, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.